Greetings and God bless. I've been thinking about best locations for Bible believers, for sincere Christians, and I'm in the process of relocating myself. And so it's interesting. I looked up the most conservative cities in the United States, and uh, and I also just happened to see another website um, that was talking about great locations and bad locations, the worst place to live. About I'm just trying to find it right now. Sorry about my delay here. But they were talking about like equity, and it's very interesting because uh, like the current narrative is talking about equity, and the Bible is always talking about inequity. And I can't do a word study. I'm not a good Bible scholar, but what is interesting is just looking at what the progressive liberal left considers to be a good city, and then what a Bible believer would be concerned about. And I'm just going to go over this list. Uh, so Buffalo, New York is described. Okay, it's a honorable mention, and so when there is a pro LGBTQP uh, uh, force, when there's let's see, like identity politics, a identity politics orientation, and especially when it's very pro fetal killing. Um, I would. So that's a very popular progressive left liberal thing. They want to be able to kill fetuses. Now, apparently, you can kill fetuses in many states uh, at the 9-month day of birth, and the Church of Satan says that this is something that they want to do as part of their ritual to kill a baby. And I believe, I'm not sure if that's completely passed, but this is common knowledge. Just look it up yourself. So, and what I've noticed is, so there'll be a big identity politics um, orientation, whatever that identity politics thing is, and it stacks upon itself. And so there'll be the killing the fetus. Uh, uh, that's very popular in this liberal community, and there'll be this Church of Satan, satanic, black magic, big kind of pagan or witch magical orientation. We have seen different city councils doing a prayer to Satan and things like that. And what is even more a cause for concern is these the covens and the Freemasons, especially, and the Satanists that you don't know anything about. And I have observed more of that when I was living in Montana and here in South Dakota. So there are some things that you wouldn't suspect at all, and it's not really obvious at face value. So I would just look at the marketing that cities do. Are they all about identity politics, critical race theory, um, changing the gender of little children with hormones and operations without the parents' consent? I would add in now with the medical autonomy and privacy and suffocation issues. So that is that's the value of the progressive liberal, and of course, killing the fetuses. So the ones that are highly touted are Buffalo, New York, Oakland, California, Durham, North Carolina, Las Vegas, Nevada. I have also heard, though, that Las Vegas has a big conservative side to it, which would make sense because they're about, they want the freedom to do what they do. So San Francisco, uh, Seattle, Washington, Chula Vista, California, Portland, Oregon, DC. Uh, and we have New York, Boston, Massachusetts, Jersey City, New Jersey, San Jose, California, Madison, Wisconsin, and yeah. So I just think that when so they'll hype those cities for the identity politics and the freedom to murder the fetuses and um, things like that. And so I think that, if you're a conservative and you're looking for like-minded people, uh, I would avoid where the progressive liberals uh, where they have like such a strong hold. If you feel up for a battle, those are good places to be a lighthouse, to share the good news about Jesus. And yeah, so I think that's pretty much what I want to say. Just look at what your values are, and I'm a fairly new believer. I used to believe abortion was a good thing. I used to really be into identity politics and the whole environmentalism thing. Like, I would also look into that. Like, any place that is spending a lot of money doing a lot of um, you know faux sustainability in terms of recycling. When, let's say, there's a huge homeless population, let's say there's no affordable housing, and I'm not saying like Section 8, like that's a problem that I think is really destructive towards low income people, fixed income people who don't want to be on Section 8. So landlords are just uh, charging their slum to be a one bedroom apartment, the cost of a one bedroom apartment across the nation. And they're just like, well, if somebody can't afford it, they should get on Section 8, and then the government will pay me my $1,500 or $2,000 or whatever for my slum that I'm renting. And uh, and then the homeowners uh, are like, "What's wrong with you? Why don't you, um, why don't you have a nice apartment or something like that?" And for those of us who have a limited income, where the rent is more than everything that you have, it's just a really tough situation for those who don't want to be in the system. And the thing is, like, people, ignorant, protected people, just are like, well, just go into the system, have the government take care of you. But it's not like that. The When you're in the system in many different levels, there's sadistic, shaming, blaming, torture that is built into the system. Because they don't have to do their job, they don't want to do their job. The government workers hate the public, particularly the people who are um, the clients. And I'm not the first person to say this, and there's probably, I bet this system is designed to create as much friction and distress as possible, because we live in a fallen world. And those that survive, from what I observe, whatever level of reality that you've been subjected to, the torture of this world, there are people who survive, but uh, even when you survive the torture, unless you're really an expert healer, you still wear some of the neuroticism that this trying to endure the torture creates in you. Whether you're being really super fastidious with all the details to prove your sanity or to prove your intelligence, to prove your value, um, there's just a lot of work to um, become healthy after prolonged torture in this reality. And when you're in the system, it's just a lot worse because you're kind of blackmailed by the system, you're bribed by the system, and for some, they're brainwashed by the system. Because I just notice, and I feel like pretty much everybody is being trafficked. I feel like marriage is a type of trafficking, a type of human trafficking, because so many times people don't have a decent relationship. They don't do anything about it. So they're just roommates that are sharing expenses. And it's not a real relationship. Um, and so I just feel like that's a form of human trafficking. I mean, even being employed is a form of human trafficking because people are just so desperate to make their rent money, and they're just staying at a terrible job in terrible working conditions. And it's not life. And I don't know too many people who have had the American dream, who have achieved the American dream in all of my life. I mean, there's a few people that I've known since, let's say high school, but that wouldn't be the majority of all the people I have been acquainted with fairly in depth. That I know who have really worked hard on their dreams and efforts and themselves. So, and I know, there's just a lot of blame that people want to share. And, yeah, we all could do things better for sure. I mean, that's just a given. And I do think, though, there's some people just are, some people seem to have more obstacles and more friction. And uh, I think like a type of discrimination, and I don't think it's just black people that get discriminated against. I think white people get discriminated against. I think some guys, white guys, can get experience discrimination. Like if you just don't generate a, like a certain type of first impression, I think our world has just become sadistic and likes keeping some people down. And I'm wondering if the political correctness of the past maybe 10 years or so has it's been shoved down people's throats, and in an unhealthy way, that people are just looking for an outlet of somebody to crush under their heel. And I'm just wondering if the world was just allowed to be more, like, less politically correct and more authentic, if there would be less of this passive aggressive um, uh, hostility against humanity. For instance, there's so many people who take all this time to help animals, and not only to help animals, to film it in a very well lit, highly produced way. And I just wonder what would happen if, let's say, those same people who are spending hundreds, thousands of dollars on animals, if they spent that hundreds of thousands of dollars, perhaps, if we take everybody into account, if we actually did that for the children in their very neighborhood, if they spent that $100,000 on their children, or that $100,000 on the homeless, and you know yes, we have The CIA is delivering drugs into poor neighborhoods. So yes, we're working against that. Um, but I just think it might still temper some of the evil that is being poured upon us. Uh, so and the thing is, I have dear friends who, their animals are their children and their dearest family members. So I know what I'm saying is very taboo. And I know animals are great. Animals are life changing. I know, and yet though, um, I do not like Bible doesn't say animals are more, that we should take care of animals more than we should take care of our family or our neighbors. And I do think that we do have an obligation to do what we can. Like I don't have a lot of money, but I do care. I want people to be able to breathe oxygen and to be safe and have medical autonomy. So I tell my elected representatives this and I talk to other people about it. So that is where I am. I do have an abundance is talking or emailing. And other people have money. So I do think that if people do have discretionary income, don't give it to a crackhead, of course not, but give it to, you know, I don't know, like maybe somebody who's starting a daycare center or something like that, or or something. I mean, opportunities do present itself, like a church that you trust, um, or buy some property and run a halfway house or something like that. Uh, Listen to God. I mean, I would pray about it, but I just can't. It just really troubles me that people will do tremendous efforts to save a goldfish or something like that, and but they're oblivious and indifferent to the pains of their neighbor or their friend. I mean, I think I can imagine like that there's people who have disposable income that are, donating thousands to whatever charity. And so we know that charities, it's going to their CEO or to some grand gala where they get more donations. And it's just this very strange reality where some people are just have just so much money, so much access to money, and then other people who are sincere and trying just are don't have any or just barely getting by, uh, and people are kind of oblivious. Like people want to feed their egos, I think. If like they're not going to give their brother some money or their daughter or something like that, but they're going to give $10,000 to um, a good cause or something like that, and uh, and they won't resent that good cause, but they'll resent if they helped their family member or their friend. And maybe this is just the nature of humanity, and maybe I would do that as well if I was blessed with way too much money. So, anyways, I am just talking, as you can see. And if you have any other thoughts, excuse me, on this, please put them in the comments below. And God bless.